There's no words to describe how horrible it is missing our Leslie.
Family and friends gather at the Leslie Zarebny Memorial Softball game. We'll take you there too. Plus, former Palm Desert Mayor and Council member Bob Spiegel has died. We'll bring you up to speed tonight. And 40 people hurt, 25 of them hospitalized after a bus and car collide on the 405 freeway. Luz Delia.
And we are just shy of an hour away from being under a high wind warning given the first major Santa Ana wind event of the season coming in from the coastal Southwest. Details on that and a second warning coming in tonight, all coming up.
This is NBC Palm Springs.
Hello and thank you for joining us on this Sunday evening. I'm Vince Marino. You're watching NBC Palm Springs, and we begin with breaking news. In just the past half hour, Sears, the 125-year-old retailer, filed for bankruptcy. The filing comes more than a decade after CEO Eddie Lambert merged Sears and Kmart, hoping that forging together the two struggling discounters would create a more formidable competitor. The bankruptcy filing comes after Lambert shed assets and sold off real estate, all to pay down the debt the retailer accumulated when that plan didn't work out. The company still has roughly 700 stores, which have at times been barren and unstocked by vendors who have lost their trust. Many of the stores have never been visited by a generation of shoppers that barely recall it was once the country's biggest retailer. Here at home, Palm Springs firefighters and police officers play softball with two special people in mind: fallen Palm Springs police officers Leslie Zarebny and Jose Gil Vega. Both were killed in the line of duty 2 years ago. Officer Zarebny played in 2015 and in 2016, which is why this charitable event was renamed in 2017 as the Leslie Zarebny Memorial Softball Game. During a moment of silence, her friends and family members had an opportunity to commemorate her passion and service.
She's looking down and just so appreciative of the family that we have with the first responders and firefighters, officers, and the community. We live in Hemet, but the people in the desert community have just been miraculous to our family, so we're so appreciative.
All proceeds from the game will go towards the Palm Springs Police and Fire Memorial Funds. The Atkins hearing continues tomorrow for John Felix, the man accused of fatally shooting Palm Springs police officers Jose Gil Vega and Leslie Zarebny when they responded to a domestic disturbance call. An Atkins hearing is designed to assess the mental fitness of a suspect. It will determine if Felix should be subject to capital punishment. He faces a special circumstance charge as well as murder and attempted murder. And also, former Palm Desert Mayor and City Councilman Bob Spiegel has died at the age of 89. A city official tells NBC Palm Springs that Spiegel died from complications associated with medical conditions he suffered for many years. Spiegel was the second longest serving Palm Desert City Councilman in the city's history. He passed away on Friday night. One person was pronounced dead at the scene and 4 others suffered minor injuries after an SUV rolled over on Highway 86 about 20 miles south of Indio. California Highway Patrol said the crash occurred about 2:15 p.m. north of Avenue 85 near the unincorporated community of Oasis. The Dodge Durango was traveling on the northbound side of the 4-lane highway and ended up in the center median after it overturned. The 4th annual official Latino Film and Arts Festival wrapped up tonight in Coachella. This year's festival was the first held on the West Coast. More than a dozen local artists displayed artworks, and a jury selected 3 pieces for recognition. Filmmaker Danny Hastings launched the festival in 2014 when he noticed a lack of Latino representation in Hollywood. The Palm Springs Public Arts Commission celebrated its 30th anniversary with Art is Here, a block party outside of the Palm Springs Art Museum. Take a look at how this artist is sketching on the street, I should say. Attendees also had a chance to see some unconventional street signs and a special mural. There were plenty of opportunities for the community to engage with art. Some decorated their own sugar cookies, and others made personalized bags and t-shirts.
We have a lot of art in this town that not everybody really knows about, so that's part of the reason to get the word out. And then we're adding lots of art. Like you can see, this is what we want our art park to be downtown, and just add things for the community, so things that make it special and that they can interact with.
Organizers say they are excited to see what the Palm Springs community wants to see in terms of art in the next 30 years. Dozens of people were injured after a bus and a car collide in Los Angeles today. The crash was first reported at about 1 p.m. by the Los Angeles Fire Department. The bus and car collided on the 405 freeway in North Hills. The crash led to several other collisions. Some 40 people were evaluated for injuries. 25 people were transported to local hospitals. And tonight, 5 people are listed in serious condition. No word yet on what caused the crash. Time now for a check on your AccuWeather forecast. Standing by for us tonight, Luz Delia Caballero. Hey, Luz Delia.
Hey, Vince, a lot to talk about in the weather world tonight. The first thing we got to talk about is the high wind warning. I'm going to expand this for you to see there. The first major Santa Ana wind event will come into the valley from the coastal southwest in just shy of an hour. And that's why we will be under that high wind warning at midnight tonight. That will remain in effect from midnight to about 3 p.m. on Monday. And we do have a red flag warning to also warn everyone in the valley about. That's because the moisture from Sergio continues moving out of the valley. We're going to take a nosedive into dry conditions, and that of course puts us in critical fire weather. So another warning to look out for. Again, hurricane force winds, just to keep things into perspective, start at 74 miles per hour. We're expecting wind gusts upwards of 70 miles per hour in our mountain areas and along the valley floor anywhere from 30 to 40. Current conditions outside, take a look at these numbers. 73 degrees in Desert Hot Springs, 78 in Palm Springs. Same deal at the station here in Palm Desert, up high in Big Bear in the 30s. As far as tonight, if you're curious, take a look at this. By 10, between 74 and 73 degrees. By midnight, 72. And we are going to reach the 60s just a little after 2. Coming up, I'll have your full extended 7-day forecast and more on those Santa Ana winds. Remember, first major Santa Ana wind event of the season. Vince?
Luz Delia, thank you. We'll check back in with you in just a little bit. President Trump plans to visit Florida and Georgia tomorrow to see the damage caused by Hurricane Michael. The storm delivered a direct hit to Florida's panhandle and nearly leveled entire communities. NBC's Dan Sheneman has the latest on the storm's aftermath.
Hurricane Michael is gone, but the storm's impact remains. Entire communities flattened or washed away.
We won't rest easy until we know that everybody's okay.
Rescue teams continue to comb through piles of rubble looking for survivors, while homeowners don't know where to start.
There's nothing salvageable. We came down here mainly to get pictures that my grandmother, who would have been 100 years old, had painted in the house.
In Mexico Beach, where Michael's winds reached 155 miles per hour, 95% of the town is unfit to live in. Other panhandle communities are also struggling.
We're estimating somewhere around 80 to 90% are just, almost beyond repair here in this town, and we have no power, no sewer, no light.
In Lynn Haven, residents lined up for water and other supplies, while the mayor says the town seems unfamiliar.
Right now my heart is broken. I don't recognize the streets at night when the lights go out. I literally have to count the blocks to know how to find my house.
A hometown that no longer feels like home. Dan Sheneman, NBC News.
One suspect is in custody, and officials are still searching for a second suspect in connection to a fatal shooting at a toddler's birthday party in Texas. They say 4 men were killed when a fight broke out between 2 families and escalated into a deadly shooting just after 5 yesterday afternoon. Investigators say the families were celebrating a 1-year-old's birthday when shots were fired in front of people attending. A 5th victim was airlifted to a hospital with unknown injuries.
I don't know exactly how many kids, but I just know there was a lot of people who witnessed it happen. So,
Still interviewing witnesses at this time?
Yes, still interviewing eyewitnesses and everybody that was there at the party, trying to piece all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Texas Rangers have been called in to investigate. Police have not said if the victims were related to the child. Fights broke out in downtown Portland during a protest between protesters with a right-wing group and counter-demonstrators. It happened last night at a Patriot Prayer March. The rally was in response to the lack of police action at a previous demonstration, with members now demanding for Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler to be removed. That's when things began to escalate, as Patriot Prayer encountered self-described anti-fascist members of Antifa. Video seen here shows members of each party fighting along the sidewalk. Police in riot gear worked to break up fights and used pepper spray to control the crowd. Police said officers saw people at the demonstration with hard-knuckled gloves, guns, knives, and batons. At least 4 people received medical attention. So far, no one has been arrested. Well, there's nothing like a cup of apple cider to celebrate the glory and traditions of fall. Lots of places make and sell it, but not quite the way they do at one cider mill in Connecticut. NBC's Harry Smith just had to go for a look and a taste.
A dump truck tilts its freshly picked cargo into a chute, where soon the apples will be turned to mush. This is how cider is made at B.F. Clyde Cider Mill in Old Mystic, Connecticut. In fact, it's the only way cider has been produced here since 1881. It is the last steam-powered cider mill in the country, a modern marvel of the Industrial Revolution, still doing its job with nary a hiccup. Annette and Harold Miner are fourth-generation proprietors.
What is it like here on a typical fall Saturday or Sunday?
It's a madhouse, but it's a wonderful madhouse.
They come for the cider and to see how it's made. But it is the cider donuts that really draw them in. The domain of Annette and her twin sister Susan. It can get crazy.
If I flip this on high and I forget that it's supposed to be low and she's over there screaming, "Shut it off! Shut it off! Shut it off!"
It's all good, clean family fun. But you should know, this mill was built to make hard cider.
How do you get through Prohibition?
My grandmother was a bootlegger.
Your grandmother?
She got arrested twice, but they threw the charges out. Oh. And then the judge took her to lunch.
To this day, they still make hard cider here. And for repertorial purposes, we sampled some.
They have a buzz on from this.
Say glass will do ya.
We'll just say apples are a fermentably friendly fruit. Oh, and we tasted the fresh stuff, too. Wonderful.
There must be a secret ingredient. What is it?
It's a big secret.
Yeah.
It's fresh apples. Big secret. Yeah. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody.
How about that? Harry Smith, NBC News, Old Mystic, Connecticut.
First to see the enormous scale of the destruction.
When we come back, we'll tell you about a French startup that is using drones and 3D technology to reconstruct history. Plus, more than 100,000 migrants are marching towards the United States. Details when we come back.